Chapter 2. Next morning, while Lal Chand was at the paper merchant's buying some cardboard tubes, Lila went to the elephant house to see Cholak. When she heard what Lal Chand had told him, she was furious. Mount Merapi, Razvani, the royal sulphur, and he wasn't going to tell me. Oh, I'll never forgive him. That's a bit drastic, said Cholak, who was busy making the elephant ready for his new job. He's only thinking of you. It's dangerous after all. You wouldn't catch me going up there. Ha, she said. It's all right to let me make golden sneezes and Java lights, I suppose little baby things, but not let me become a real firework-maker. He wants me to stay a child forever. Well, I'm not going to, Chilla. I've had enough. I'm going to Mount Merapi and I'm going to bring back the royal sulphur and I'll set up a firework-maker on my own and put my father out of business. You see if I don't. No, wait, you ought to talk to him. But Lila wouldn't listen. She ran straight home, packed a little food to eat, and a blanket and a few bronze coins and left a note on the workshop bench. Dear Father, I have completed my apprenticeship. Thank you for all you have taught me. I'm going to seek the royal sulphur from Razvani, the Fire-Fiend, and I shall probably not see you again. Your ex-daughter, Lila. Then she thought she could take something to show Razvani her skill and pack a few self-igniting Crackle-Dragons. One of the last things she had invented was a new way of setting them off. You had to just pull the string instead of setting light to them, because the string was soaked with a solution of fire crystals. She put 3 of them in a bag, took one last look around the workshop, and slipped away. When Lal Chand came back and found her note, he read it with horror. Oh, Lila, Lila, you don't know what you're doing, he cried, and ran into the alley. Have you seen Lila? He asked the fried prawn seller. She went off in that direction about half an hour ago. She had a bundle on her back, added the pedantic painter. Looked as if she was going on a journey. Lal Chand hurried after her at once, but he was an old man with a weak cut, and he couldn't run fast, and the streets were crowded. Rickshaw drivers jostled with bullock carts. A caravan of silk traders was pushing its way through the market, and in the grand boulevard a procession was going on. The crowd was so thick that Lal Chand couldn't move any further. The reason for all the excitement was that the new white elephant was being led to his new owner. Philip was leading Hamlet at the head of the procession, and with them came musicians playing bamboo flutes and banging tea drums, and dancers swaying and snapping their fingernails, and a troop of servants with tape measures ready to measure Hamlet's new home for the silk curtains and velvet carpets the owner would have to buy. Flags flapped and banners waved in the sunlight, and the white elephant shone like a snowy mountain. Lal Chand forced his way through the crowd to Chulak's side. Did you tell Lila about Razvani and the royal sulphur? He panted. Of course, said Chulak. You should have told her yourself. Why? Because she's gone, you wretch. She's gone off by the mountain, by herself, and she doesn't know the rest of the secret. Is there more then? Of course there is, said Lal Chand, struggling to keep up. No one can go into the Fire-Fiend's grotto without protection. She needs a flask of magic water from the goddess of the Emerald Lake. Otherwise, she'll perish in flames. Oh, Chulak, what have you done? Chulak gulped. They were nearly at the house of the white elephant new owner, and they had to slow down to allow the dancers and musicians and flag bearers to get through the gate first and form 2 lines for the white elephant to walk in between. Then Hamlet whispered, just loud enough for Chulak to hear. I'll find her. Help me get away tonight, Chulak, and we'll go and take Lila the magic water. Good idea, whispered Chulak, beaming. Just what I was going to suggest. He turned to Lal Chand and said, Listen, I've got a proposition. Me and Hamlet will find her. We'll go out tonight. Emerald Lake Goddess, magic water, Mount Merapi. Nothing to it. Then Chulak turned to the servants. Mind out the way, he called. We've got to get him round the corner. Dear, dear, what a narrow gate. He'll have to come down. What's this? Gravel. You want the white elephant to walk on gravel? Fetch a cup at once, a red one. Go on, hurry. He clapped his hands, and the servants bowed and scampered away. In the background, the new owner was tearing his hair. Philip whispered to the Lalchan once more. Don't worry, we'll get away tonight. All we need is a trampoline. A tarpaulin? Whatever for? No time to explain now. Just bring one to the gate tonight. And Lalchan had to make do with that. He went back to the bookshop feeling heavy-hearted. All this while, Lila had been making her way through the jungle towards the sacred volcano. Mount Merope lay far to the north, and she had never seen it until late that afternoon. She came to a bend in the jungle path and found herself beside the river. The size of the great mountain made her gasp. It was far away on the very edge of the world, but even so it reached halfway up to the sky, with the bare sides rising in a perfect cone to the glowing crater at the top. From time to time, the fire spirits who lived there rumbled angrily underground and threw boiling rocks high into the air. A plume of eternal smoke drifted from the summit to join the clouds. How can I ever get there? She wondered, and felt her heart quail. But she had chosen to make the journey, and she could hardly turn back where she'd barely begun. She shifted her bundle from one shoulder to the other shoulder and walked on. The jungle was a noisy place. Monkeys gibbeted in the trees, and parrots squeaked, and crocodiles snapped their jaws in the river. Ever so often, Lila had to step carefully over a sleeping snake in the sun, and once she heard the roar of a mighty tiger, there was no one to be seen except some fishermen laboriously rowing their boat across the other side of the river. She stopped and watched as they brought their boat in towards the bank where she was standing. They weren't making very good progress. There were 6 or 7 of them, and all their oars were getting in one another's way. As she watched, one of the fishermen missed the water completely with his oar, which swung around and clamped another fisherman on the head. The fisherman turned around and punched the first one, who fell off his seat with a squeal, and dropped the oar in the water. One of the others tried to grab it, but instead he fell out of the boat, which rocked so violently that the others all cried out in alarm and grabbed the other sides. The man had fallen out was splashing and splurting as he tried to climb back into the boat, and all the crocodiles barking in the shallows looked up interested. Lila caught her breath in alarm, but the fisherman was so helpless that she could hardly stop herself laughing. But when the man in the water leaned over the gunwale, all the men in the boat leaned over the side to help him. And the boat tipped over so far that they nearly fell in too. They suddenly realized what was happening and let go. And then the boat tipped back the other way round, and they all fell on their backs. And the crocodiles slid off the sandbank and began to swim towards them. Oh, pull him in, you stupid creatures! Lila cried. Over the end, not over the side. One of the fishermen heard her, and hauled the men over the stern to lie in the bottom, flopping and gasping like the fish. Meanwhile, the boat had drifted in to the side, and Lila put out a hand to stop him bumping. As soon as they saw her, the fishermen nudged one another. Look, said one. Go on, muttered one of them. You ask her. No, it was your idea. You do it. It wasn't me. It was Chang. Well, he can't say anything. He's still full of water. Finally, one of them stopped, snorted with impatience, and stood up, making the boat rock alarmingly. He was the stoutest man in the boat, and by far the most impressive, for he wore an ostrich plume nodding in his turban, an enormous black moustache, and a tartle sarong. Miss, he said, would I be correct in supposing that you were hoping to cross the river? Well, as a matter of fact, I was hoping, said Lila. He tapped his fingertips together with pleasure.